Chad Moyer with you here on the Rural Radio Network. It's time for our Fridays in the Field segment back to northeast Nebraska between Pender and Walt Hill. We're visiting with Jeff Baker. Jeff, thanks for joining us here today. First of all, just tell us about the last 6 weeks or so since we visited with you. Tell us what's been on your agenda for the last 6 weeks.
It's been sunny and hot, and sometimes it rains a little bit, which I think is a pretty common issue around here. It's spotty. For the most part, I can't complain about how anything looks. I mean, we've been dry, we've been hot. To this point, though, it's been all right, and things look decent now.
Yep. So if you can, in the last 2 months, from planting until now, how much rain have you had? And is it rain that you think did really good? Do you think that it all soaked in, came slow enough that it is doing the crop good?
For the most part, yeah. We're dry enough, anything soaks in to a certain degree right now. I know there have been spots around that have got the real heavy real fast. We had one early one that we got probably an inch in 10 minutes or something like that, but we haven't had any of the big out of control hail, wind, stuff like that. So no, everything's soaked in, it's all been helpful. It's been spread out enough that I'd call it almost timely to this. I mean, when everybody's starting to get nervous and we really need something, it seems like within a week or so of that, it kind of shows up. So we don't have an excess by any means, but no, the stuff we've had has been very helpful, I think.
So kind of focusing in, again, since planting, you said emergence was okay. How about weed control? And especially in northeast Nebraska, where we're experiencing an exceptional drought, D3, D4 in the area. How does that affect your weed control plan this year?
It doesn't change a lot for me, I guess, with what I approach it with. I've had some trouble killing water hemp this year for whatever. It's never an easy weed to kill by any means, but I know I've had some trouble. Actually, in my beans, we went back and spot sprayed some end rows that just didn't seem to do a very good job the first time. Talking with a few farmers around here, I don't think that's uncommon by any means. It's just, I don't know with the dry weather if it's just tougher to get it into the weed and kill it. I'm sure there's a lot of chemistry behind that someone could explain, but other than that, I guess you don't get a lot more flushes of weeds when it doesn't ever rain, so that simplifies things a little bit.
You told us before you're completely a dryland farmer. Yep. So when we have a year like this where it's dry, how about the fertility program? Is there a way to change it? Do you think you should change it in a year like this?
That's a lot of good question there. As a dryland guy, you just wish you had a pivot on a year like this. But beyond that, fertility for me in 20-inch rows, I don't like going back out there a lot, especially in corn, because there's no good way to not run everything over. So I'm kind of front-loaded that way fertility-wise, so there's not a ton that I change.
So the next thing is going to be fungicide, and bigger picture is if you're kind of front-loaded on your fertility, does that mean you kind of hold on all the way through? You see it through with multiple fungicide applications if you have to, or supplements through the season?
As we were talking before this, I'm that optimistic farmer, so I like to only look at my crop in the morning when it actually looks good this time of year, I guess. So no, the plan right now is to probably probably this week, I'm going to mess with some beans and kind of not truly R1, because I've had flowered beans for a good 2 weeks now, probably. It was before, I think like the 15th, probably before that, this one was flowered actually. I'll mess around with very small acres on that here in the next week or so. Most of my beans I will plan on kind of late R2, R3, kind of the traditional fungicide timing for sure. Corn, I will probably hit everything here within the next week and a half.
Are you set up, or do you like to do multiple fungicide applications if you think it warrants it?
I don't know. That's actually one of the things I'm kind of chasing to see if that is worthwhile. I know a lot of the real high yield guys, There's some of those guys that just automatically hit it 3 times in a year. A lot of those guys are east, have a little more moisture, a little more disease to deal with. Out here, I don't know if it's worthwhile, but I'm going to mess with it and see if it's worthwhile, I guess. So
You just watch the crops grow, right?
there you go. There you go.
All right, very good. Jeff, it's good to talk to you. Thank you for the update. Appreciate you letting us follow you here this summer, okay?
No problem. Thank you.
Again, we've been visiting with Jeff Baker from Pender, Nebraska. He farms between Pender and Walt Hill here in northeast Nebraska. And this week's update on Fridays in the Field, again brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank.